What's spooking, my friends? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Shay, and today we're going to read some horror books. So I'm not going to lie, I am filming this intro after I've already done the vlog, but that's okay because I can better equip you with what I'm going to read in here, because when I first started I had absolutely no idea. So, of course, in the month of October, I really knew that I wanted to try out horror. I've read some horror books in the past, and I haven't been such a fan. One that comes to mind is Mexican Gothic by Sylvia Moreno Garcia, which I DNF'd. And I've tried a few more. I know I read The Shining like a really long time ago. I've read The Cabinet at the End of the World. Super excited for the movie adaptation, by the way. But I wanted to delve more into this genre. I wanted to see if horror could be just a genre for me. So I decided to read some horror. And so one of my goals this year, of course, is to read more self-published or indie published works. So I did try out some indie published novels. So let me tell you which ones I read in this vlog. So the first one is Dear Laura by Gemma Amor. I think this is self-published. She has written a bunch of horror, I think, and this is just the one that I picked. This is a short novella, and this is following our main character, who basically, she sees her boyfriend get kidnapped, and nobody ever finds him, and she keeps getting letters on her birthday from a man claiming to know where he is, or what happened to him. So there is that. And then the second one I read was The Little Woods by A.G. Mock. I think this is indie published or self-published as well. And this is just about some kids and some haunted woods. And yeah, we're going to see if I like haunted stories. Then I read The Last House on Nila Street by Catriona Ward. And you'll see my experience here. This is a very popular book, and it's a mystery kind of deal where this girl's sister has gone missing. Nobody ever found her, but there was a suspect in the case back then, and so we're gonna see what's up there. And then lastly, I read The Honeys by Ryan Lasala, and this is a YA mystery, why is my sister acting crazy summer camp story. So those are the 4 books that I'm going to read in this vlog. It may be a little chaotic because at the time that I started this vlog, I had no idea what I was reading, and you're going to find out if I think horror is a genre that I think I might like. So stay tuned, and I hope I like it. Okay, I'm looking crazy, but it is Thursday the 6th, and I just finished my first horror thing, and it was a novella. And that is going to be Dear Laura by Gemma Amor. So I've never heard anybody talk about this, and I can't tell you much because it is a novella, but I will tell you that the basic premise of this novella is this girl's boyfriend, when she's a teenager, gets kidnapped, and periodically throughout the decades as she goes forward in life, she is receiving these letters from somebody claiming to know about his murder or to be the murderer. So that's all I can say. This was definitely compulsively readable, but I just didn't get a lot of horror elements in here. It was suspenseful for sure, but I wasn't horrified. I kept waiting for something exciting to happen, and it just didn't. So this one gets a 3-star for me. It is a Bram Stoker Award nominee, which is kind of crazy because I don't know how this is like considered horror, if that makes any sense. So I gave it 3 stars, and now I'm going to move on to something else, and I have not decided what that is, but once I decide, I will pop back in and let you know how that's going. Okay, so it is Saturday, October the 8th, and I'm 50% into another book. I did attempt to read another self-published novel prior to this, and I DNF'd it, but I don't want to say what that is because I don't want to hurt these self-published authors. So I did start The Little Woods by A.G. Mock, and this is another indie press self-pub book that basically follows our main character, Ian, and this is a dual timeline book, so we're starting in the present day, and something traumatic happens to him in present day that brings him kind of back to something that happened in the past with his childhood that happened in these woods that are around where he lives. And it's very, I loved it for the first 20%. Now I'm kind of like, kind of dwindling down, which I thought would happen in a longer horror novel, because I'm not quite sure what a longer horror novel can accomplish. That's why I think horror sometimes works better in shorter stories. I'm not sure, but I'm 50% in and I'm looking forward to reading the rest. I think that this also, why is it that every horror book or movie that you watch has some kind of nudity, sexualness about it? Like, I think we can, at this point in time, just cut that out. Like, it doesn't add anything to the story, and this has this in it. It's a couple of scenes of it in it, and it doesn't add anything to the story. So if it were completely cut out, it wouldn't take away anything from the story, and I just don't understand quite why people do this in horror, movies, novels, whatever. But I am going to enjoy myself. I'm going to continue this book on, and I will hopefully check in when I get done with this, and hopefully I will have liked it. Excuse the mess that is my house. But I don't know what made me pick up The Last House on Nila Street by Catriona Ward, but I picked it up, and I'm enjoying it. I don't know what to make of it yet, and it's a really hard book to tell you about because I think you should go into it blind. I'm 60% in, and I am not quite sure. There's a man viewpoint, there's a cat viewpoint, and then there's another female viewpoint. We also have a teenage character, which we're not sure about, and I'm kind of thinking, I'm not sure how this book is going to go. It's really confusing right now, but I'm going to have to update when I get finished with the book, because I don't even know how to feel right now about this book, and I'm 60% of the way through. So I'll check in when I get done. So I finished The Last House on Nila Street by Catriona Ward. I have very mixed feeling on this book as well. I can see why people would rate it 1 star, and I can see why people would rate it 5 stars. My recommendation going into this book is you have to go in completely blind. I did. The synopsis on the back of the book is vague at that. Like, it doesn't really give you any information, so I was confused going into this. And it will seem like while you're reading it that you are also confused. All of that will come together in the end. However, just for a little synopsis that I can do on this book, this follows a story of a young girl that went missing some years ago, and her sister has never given up hope of finding out what happened to her sister. And they looked into a suspect of a man back when it happened because he lived near the lake that it occurred. And it found out that he had an alibi. He was ruled out as a suspect. And unfortunately, the sister has never given up as him being the one that has committed this crime against her sister or taken her sister. So we are following that man and a cat. We get a cat's perspective, and we do get some from the sister. And that's all I'm really going to say. This was a gothic thriller. It was very different from any kind of thriller I have ever read before. And so I'm going to give it 3 stars. I thought it was okay, but I didn't guess what was going on. But still, I don't know. Something about it just led me to not give it 5 stars. So I'm going to give it 3 stars. And we're going to read something else now. I don't know what that is, but we will see shortly. Okay, so it is what day is it? The 17th? Monday? And I, on a whim, started to read The Honeys by Ryan LaSala. It's a new release. I've heard a lot of good things about it. It's a YA horror, and so I saw that it was available, and I was like, yeah, I'll listen to it. So the audiobook is very good. I don't know if y'all have ever read or listened to a graphic audio. I listened to my first graphic audio a few months ago, and it was very difficult for me to get into because the sound effects and stuff were like real crazy, and like half the book gets cut out because they replace it with the sound effects of everything. But this is not a graphic audio. It does have some sound effects to it that are very subtle but creepy, like, that work well into the audiobook. So I would highly recommend the audiobook of this. I'm about 50% in. It follows our main character, and he wakes up one night and his sister, who's supposed to be away at camp, which is a long way away from where he lived, is there in his room trying to kill him. So they have to figure out what happened, what has occurred, and how did she get here, and all of that. And it basically she's supposed to be at summer camp, so he has to go back to summer camp and kind of figure out what has gone on with summer camp and these friends and this group that they call themselves the Honeys. So I've heard a lot of people comparing it to Bunny by Mona Awad. I've never read Bunny, so I can't tell you how accurate that comparison is, but I'm 50% in. I can't say that I'm absolutely loving it. I think that it's very good. I'm enjoying my time, but I also do note that it's a YA, so it does lean very YA, if that makes any sense. So when I get done, I will check back in and tell you how this is going. So I finished The Honeys by Ryan LaSala. This is my favorite, scary horror book that I've read this month. I am going to land on 4 stars. So I didn't know what I was talking about earlier, but this book follows our main character. And the main character is gender fluid, but you can use any pronoun. He goes by he, she, or they. And he basically wakes up and his sister is in the room with him. And she's supposed to be off at this summer camp. And she is there trying to kill him. And so she gets killed instead. So he embarks to figure out what happened. What happened in summer camp? How did she get from summer camp to his room? Okay. What's going on at the summer camp? Because last summer she didn't like camp, now she likes camp. There's a lot of stuff going on. So he goes back to this camp, which he has previously been a part of, but there was some bad blood and some bad things that happened, so he quit going there, and now he's back. And he goes to try to figure out what has been happening to his sister in the last moments of camp. How does she get from camp back to the house? How does she all of a sudden have a personality change and want to murder him? Like, they were very close. Like, what has occurred? And the audiobook, as I said previously, is super fantastic. It's not like a graphic audio. It is just like there are some creepy noises in the audiobook that completely immerse you into the story. So it is perfect for a horror book because I got chills while listening to this audiobook, and I highly recommend the audio. I wouldn't do this story any other way. There were bees buzzing. There's bees in the story, and oh my gosh, I really fully loved it. So 4 stars to The Honeys by Ryan LaSala. So that is going to end this vlog, and I read 4 books in the vlog. So let's recap. I read Dear Laura by Gemma Amor, which I rated 3 stars, but it was fine. It was a short, kind of novella-ish kind of book. I then read The Little Woods by A.G. Mock, which was longer. It was a full-length novel, and I think it was too long, and it was fine. I rated it 3 stars. Then I read The Last House on Needless Street by Catriona Ward, which I gave 3 stars. I thought it was fine. Nothing to write home about, though, even though I've heard a lot of people love this particular book. And then I read The Honeys by Ryan LaSala, which I gave 4 stars. I thought it was fantastic. Highly, highly recommend. Go check it out. If there's any book in this video that you check out, The Honeys by Ryan LaSala. Alright guys, I hope you guys are doing all kind of well. I hope you guys have been reading some spooky books in the month of October. I don't know that this was a failed experiment. I just think that horror may be very hit or miss for me, and it's definitely not a genre I can hit back to back to back to back to back. It's definitely one that I just need to sprinkle here and there, because I think reading these horrors back to back to back, even though I am in a spooky mood, I think it kind of put me into a reading slump. It's definitely a genre I need to spread out. What about you guys? Please leave in the comments below what some of your favorite books are in the horror genre. I will add them to my horror TBR to sprinkle them in here or there in my reading journey. I will catch you guys later. Bye!